More thoughts on tonight's card. Wow! It was a slow start for Jessica Andrade, but she beat up Claudia Gadelha from the end of round 1 through the whole of round 3. That was an astonishing performance against the consensus number 2 fighter at strawweight, behind only Joanna Jedrzejczyk, of course. She took Gadelha's best shots, which bloodied her very early on in the fight, and then showed off her incredible strength by straight-up bullying Gadelha. Andrade delivered some devastating body shots, a whirlwind of punching combinations to the head, and Gadelha had few answers other than guillotine attempts. That was tremendous stuff from Andrade, and it really shouldn't take much for her to get another title shot, whether or not Jedrzejczyk is still the champion. The UFC should have never booked Takanori Gomi to fight Maestro Hyun Kim. He shouldn't have been fighting anyone even halfway decent at MMA. This had a 99.9% chance of ending with him getting hurt, dropped and finished. Guess what happened? He got dropped and finished. I hated the fight when it was announced. I hated watching the Fireball Kid get pointlessly beaten up again in his home country, and it sucks that this is how his career is ending. I'm really hoping Gomi retires because this is just hard to watch. Enough is enough. Former kickboxing champion Gökhan Saki had a hell of a scrap with Luis Enrique da Silva as the fearsome Turkish knockout artist dominated the early part of round 1, then looked to be fading badly before unleashing a fight-ending left hook. I suppose the stoppage was a tad early, but watching it live, it looked like da Silva was not going to recover from that shot. This fight showcased Saki's vaunted kickboxing skills, plus some nice takedown defense, but he was also facing a bottom-of-the-barrel UFC opponent, so I wouldn't even think the idea of him being a contender just yet. That said, he brought the violence, so that's step 1 complete. We can work out whether he's actually going to be a top-level light heavyweight later. Teruto Ishihara nearly knocked out Rolando Dai in round 1 and otherwise won that round 10-8, then nearly had his testicles removed through 3 different low blows. Dai was deducted a point in round 3 after the third shot to the balls, and it essentially cost him a draw. Fun fight, and as an aside, I'm not sure Ishihara and Team Alpha Male are a good fit for each other. It feels like Ishihara should be at a different camp to better mold his skill set. You learn something new every day. I thought Brazilians spoke Portuguese, but if you listen to Todd Grisham, apparently they actually speak Brazilian. When Jussier Formiga has your back, you're probably going to be tapping out. That's what happened to Ulka Sasaki, who was winning the striking exchanges, but as soon as it went to the ground, Formiga passed his guard, got him out, then the back, and he sunk in the rear naked choke for the W. He's still hanging around as a potential flyweight title challenger, but time is running out for him to finally get the crack at the belt. Preliminary card: Keita Nakamura took a split decision versus Alex Morono in a fight where you could have made an argument for either guy. Nakamura definitely took round 1 by hurting Morono with a body kick, but then rounds 2 and 3 were fairly tight, and not too many great quality strikes landed. Morono finished nicely by cutting Nakamura's face open with an elbow, but it wasn't enough for victory. Japanese pro wrestler and kickboxer Sayuri Kondo won a fast-paced, glorified kickboxing match against 20-year-old Chan Mi-jian, who nearly busted my eardrums with her incredibly loud screaming at the end of round 1. Kondo had the better, cleaner offense in my book, especially in rounds 2 and 3, where she had Jian at least a little bit hurt. Jian really should be an Invicta, or at least going back to the regional scene to develop her skills. Shinsho Anzai returned from a 2-year layoff to take a unanimous decision over Luke Jumo in a fight that was kinda sloppy to watch over the last 2 rounds. Jumo just didn't have enough spurts of offense to win on the scorecards, even when Anzai was gassed in round 3.